Marty, it's June.
Yep.
We all know what that means.
No, I don't.
Oh, it means all the corporate headquarters all change their logos and everything's got rainbows in it. Unfortunately, that has not been the case this year. So many corporations are ditching the rainbow in favor of just the products that they normally produce and just leave it alone. Except, well, of course, there had to be one exception, and that was, of course, Air Canada coming out with a big showing to show everybody just how gay they are, just how gay a company they are, and going out even further. And they put together a I think it was a video where they were talking about flights, a gay only flight, something. I don't know. I didn't pay that much attention.
Please. Can you imagine you accidentally get on the plane and you're looking around going, uh-oh, what have I done? Like an all gay. Actually, I'll tell you a story. Tell you a real quick story.
I don't know. I don't know if I want to hear this one.
I was visiting Denver, Colorado for work with a bunch of guys, and then we asked some of the locals, hey, where should we go for a drink after work or whatever? And they played a joke on us, and they sent us to a gay bar. So me and my redneck buddies from Alberta, we walk into this bar. And I'm looking around going, oh, God, this isn't all right. This isn't normal, right? And I walked up to the counter and I asked the bartender, I'm like, is this a gay bar? You know what he said? Not always. I'm like, what?
What? I don't even know how to take that.
I don't even know how to take it anyways. We sat down, true sportsmen, and we had a beer.
Oh, that's hilarious. That's hilarious. Yeah. But that just goes to show that people aren't like, people don't care. Really, at the end of the day, nobody cares. No. Everybody knows that there's gay people out there, and whatever. Go live your life, man. That's you. Go be you. And in fact, I love this one because Jack is a person I follow on Twitter. He's a fantastic dude. Happens to be of that.
I met him in person many times. Actually, I've met Jack in person many times.
But he's an activist against all this stuff, and I love this. He's like, this is why I'm not acknowledging any of it. I'm tired. Nobody is homophobic. We're just homo fatigued. Yeah. I love that because really, at the end of the day, there is no discrimination. There's nobody's being dragged through the coals or taken to court or thrown in jail or any of this stuff over who they just happen to be. Nobody cares.
No, and go back to that logo for Air Canada. Let's just talk about that for a second. Like, Air Canada, in recent years, let's say 2 years ago, a lot of Canadian companies would do this, right? Like whether it was or Canadian divisions of global companies. So Ford would go with the rainbow logo. So would IBM. But then, interestingly enough, if you looked at, let's say, IBM Germany or IBM Qatar or IBM Saudi Arabia, sure, they didn't change the logos there. So, multinational companies would do this only in Canada, to a smaller extent to the US and some European countries. I'm glad to see this year we're seeing, like Charlie said, he had to look for a multicolored rainbow logo like this because companies gave up. And you know why companies gave up? It's in the US, right? Trump and others, like companies went, whoa, careful here. Let's stop doing this nonsense, because if you do too much of this nonsense under Trump, you'll be kicked off the approved vendor list and you won't be doing business for the Americans, right? If you're IBM, you don't want to risk doing business with the Trump administration. So it's like, forget it. We're staying, normal. And then it spills over in Canada. So again, Trump's having positive effects to, and this is over. I mean, like this.
At the end of the day, honestly, DEI, all of this stuff that this is about, this diversity, equity, and inclusion is actually, it's not inclusive. It's exclusive. And in everywhere that you see it, you hear about people being turned away or, you can't work here. I mean, CBC is one of the more famous ones where it's like, they list off all the things all the physical attributes that they're looking for in a worker. And it's everything but white people. And it's ridiculous. Or white straight dude is the thing. You're not allowed to work for the CBC if you're a white straight dude. Apparently they don't have any of those.
Well, Oh, did I freeze a second? And they also had to repeal their DEI policies, companies like Walmart, because they went too far. So suddenly they had, let's say 60% visible minority working for them. So now you had the whites going, well, according to your policy, you need to be 50-50. And so they couldn't even meet their own policies because they went too far in the, in some categories. So
do we have those categories here in Canada? Because I don't know. Have you been to a Tim Hortons or a Burger King or a McDonald's or anything lately?
Wow. Holy. Actually, I made a comment yesterday that, again, it got me called racist, but I'm trying to sell a car right now. It's weirdly related to this, but I'm trying to sell a car. And so I made the mistake of putting it on, Facebook Marketplace. Man, every name that called for that car, the first 10 names were scams, first of all. And they're all names that I have a hard time pronouncing. Like, it's just annoying. It's just annoying that anyways. Hey, but you know who still does this DEI bullshit? The federal government. Right?
The Canadian federal government.
Canadian federal government. Look at that. I posted up at the top of my Twitter feed there. Look at that comment by the Canada Revenue Agency yesterday or 2 days ago. The one on the advertising for childcare benefits by the Canada Revenue Agency. I think it's fourth at the top of my Twitter profile. The couple, the man.
Right there. Yeah.
Yeah. More. So some, Canada is not giving up on the DEI. Roll down a bit first before you read my comment. Just show the ad there.
So it says, Canada Revenue Agency, have you welcomed a new child into your family? Congrats. You could be eligible for the Canadian Child Benefit. Use your calculator to see how much you could get. I don't think those people made that.
I don't think so either. I mean, look at that couple. Look at the couple they chose, right? What are they like? And so scroll down. Here's my comment, and it's real. Or up, I guess.
Up, yeah.
Right? 359,885 babies were born in Canada. Okay? So that's a lot of couples that had babies. And look at the couple that they use as a representative couple. Like
why?
Why? I have no idea. No idea. Who thought this is a good idea?
Do you think like gay couples or whatever are looking at this or looking at something else and going, I'm not represented. That's awful. Why don't they represent me? Because no, I doubt it. Only ultra sensitive types.
I mean, not only is it a gay couple, they chose gay men instead of gay women, and they chose a multicultural gay male couple. Like,
how many boxes can you tick off, Marty?
All of them. Maybe if you panned out, maybe one of them's missing a leg and he's also happens to be disabled. Oh, okay. Or he suffers from PTSD. Like, fantastic. Right. Check. What's he missing?
So in the United States, the Supreme
I know
Court
what's missing, Clyde. Sorry, I know what's missing. One of those guys is trans. There. Now you check them all off.
Now you checked them all off. Now it could be their baby.
Yeah. Okay,
I don't know why.
It's crazy. I'm going back to the wilderness. I'm out of here.
Yeah. So in the United States, the Supreme Court of the US has ruled that affirmative action is discriminatory. It's not legal. They can't do that. So they've taken it out of universities and all these other things. And they said because it's literally quotas based on skin color and things like that. If you're going to have a meritocracy and a system based around that, you have to just pick who scores the best. Absolutely. Don't look at who they are. Don't even ask what color they are, whatever. Just look at the scores. Look at nothing. Don't even look at what name's on the thing. You're just looking at the score and you're going, this is a candidate for the, application. End of story. That is the best way to go about it. But there's been all of this stuff, this whole DEI and all of this crap, but it's bred one thing: more discrimination. Because where does the real discrimination come from? It comes from when people come out of the mills and they come out of university and they have a degree, or they come and they get a job and they have that job and they have, maybe they're not white men and they have tick some of those boxes. And what happens? Well, people around them start looking at them and going, are you really qualified for this job?
Right.
Is that this? And that shouldn't be the situation we should be in. those people obviously should be able to occupy whatever position they want to occupy. They just have to be qualified for it. And so because they're qualified for it, you would never ask. You would never assume, if we don't have DEI, that somebody who is not a white man is not qualified for the position. Obviously they are, because they passed all the prerequisites to get there. And that's a society that gets rid of racism, in my estimate.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree. I mean, we called it used to be called reverse discrimination, right? Because that's what it was. And yeah, to your point, I guess what you're getting at is, like, I used to work with, let's say, lady engineers, and I never looked at a lady engineer and thought, okay, why are you here? Because back in the 1990s and in 2000, if there was a lady engineer at work, I 100% knew she was competent. She had done what I had done. She had gone through school the same way and wanted to go through school, wasn't let in because of some quota system. And yeah, and I, to your point, I do feel bad for a lady engineer who's working now, who gets hired in 2025, because somebody's probably looking at her going, I guess you're, yeah, it's but it's coming to an end, right? That kind of discrimination, all of that, merit is coming back in style. Not in style. It's a necessity, right? Look at some of the disasters we've had because of quota, of filling quotas. And I'm talking, there's been some real disasters, but there's been some smaller disasters. I mean, some businesses have paid dearly for this. Like, if you hire incompetent people just because to meet a quota, you're going to put yourself at risk at some point. You're going to have somebody drive a forklift over the sidewalk that shouldn't have. So yeah. Or
drive our economy right off the cliff. That's the way we could do it. We had Justin Trudeau, who brought in a cabinet that was DEI, right? That was his excuse for why he brought in the people that he brought in, was it's because it's current year, right? It was 2015 at the time, and we have to have a bunch of women doing the stuff. Finance Minister Chrystia Freeland, amazing DEI hire, tanking our economy, couldn't put a budget together, and we have a government that still can't put budget together.
Or Melanie Jolie, right? God, when she speaks, I just like, I can't. Yeah, no, that actually, good point. Interesting story. I heard that story. I didn't witness it, but I heard that story. I guess the first official vote in the House of Commons was where the Liberals were defeated, right? So what happened this week? The Conservatives changed the Conservatives forced the Liberal to publish a budget, right? The Conservatives and the Bloc, everybody. So the Conservatives
brought it forward, and then even the NDP voted for it. That was a thing. And the buzz around this story, the talk around the town on this one, is that this would be a confidence vote. So it would come up, they would have to have a budget, and then that would be a confidence vote. If everybody votes it down, then that would defeat the government.
A budget would be a confidence vote, but asking the government to produce a budget is not.
No. That already passed. That already passed. But they have to produce a budget. This is a strongly worded motion to produce a budget. But they already had motions in the last session to, produce evidence to the RCMP. That stuff never took place. There's so many things that don't take place. I don't know. I just don't see this going through. I don't see us going to an election.
Most Canadians don't realize or don't appreciate that we haven't had a budget in the House of Commons. We haven't been presented a budget or voted on a budget since March 2023. Like, budgets are supposed to, the budget cycle for the federal government goes from April 1st to April 1st, because that's just the way Parliament sits, right? They resume sitting around April for the summer. So budgets are presented in April, and that's a standard parliamentary tradition, and it's in our constitution. We have to have a budget. And so the last one was in 2023. Trudeau in 2024 never presented a budget. They presented economic updates and all sorts of bullshit like that. And now Carney, when he should be presenting, to go back to the normal cycle, he should be presenting this year's budget now on April 1st. But he says, well, I'll do it. What did he say? They're going to force him to do it in when? October, November? something like
well,
that.
yeah. So he
Like, we're gonna go
wants to put it off to October. He wants to put it off to October. But yeah, no. This is the point of the motion, to force them to come up with a budget. Now, whether or not they come up with a budget, like what's the penalty for not coming up with a budget?
Nothing, apparently, because we've been 2 years without one.
There's nothing. And for them, if they do come up with a budget and they bring that to a vote, then that budget is a confidence vote. So why there's no incentive for them to bring it forward.
And there's no disincentive for not doing it. So yeah, this is how we're ruled right now. I mean, yeah, he can say he'll do it, which is a perfect segue to a lot of other things today. Carney is very good right now at saying he'll do a whole bunch of things, but everything is to be seen on what he does, right? And I can't believe people are applauding him at this point for like even saying he's going to do stuff. He said he was going to do a whole bunch of stuff during the campaign, and he's already reneged on all of those things. Like it's been 2 months and he's accomplished nothing. And so yeah, I mean, how many houses have you built there, Marc Carney, since you announced it? I mean, you said you were going to do 500,000 a year.
Yeah, how many are we behind so far?
Yeah, that's
there's none.
Yeah, none. You know, he needs to build at least 75,000 a month, so we're way behind. Yeah, he won't. You know, he won't do a budget. I'm not. Yeah, they passed a motion that he needs to do a budget. He won't.
No, but they've already tabled a piece of legislation, and this is where it's got a lot of people nervous on this one. This, of course, is the new bill that everybody's talking about, Bill C2, which is it's terrifying to say the least. I don't know what else to say to this. Carney Liberals have just introduced Bill C2, the Strong Borders Act. The law allows the Carney government to seize and read your mail in mid-post. They can take your mail, pull it out, read it for up to 60 days without due process or compensation, and track your online data without a warrant, among other things. This is Concerned Canadian saying, "Wake up, Canada! Bill C2 is in guised in a context of Strong Borders Act, but it provides this government with an omnipresent power, even more dystopian ability to covertly surveil all aspects of your personal life, an unprecedented rights violation." It really comes down to it. Like they're pushing forward. They've got more of this stuff. We were all waiting for the resurgence of the Online Harms Act. That hasn't come yet, but this has, and this is like a whole new beast.
Yep.
And we're in stop the bill territory again. We're stopping bills. That's what we got to do.
Well, and this is a typical sort of it's not an omnibus bill, but it's close to it, right? It's a big bill with a big title, you know, measures to make the border safer. And in there, they'll just shove a whole bunch of things, right? Like more powers to the border security agent, more powers to the cops, more power, like cops. Like why? What? Like the border is in charge, the Canada Border Security is in charge of the border. So why does this bill give more power to police? Like
Marty, it's ridiculous. It's another case of they're not using the powers that they have. So why would we give them more power?
Yeah.
When they don't need it, they can just use the things that they've got. The police have been investigating, you know, the RCMP. They know about 4,000 unique individual agencies that are working in the fentanyl trade in Canada. And what are they doing about it? How many arrests have you heard about cartel members and all these people? This is a thing. Australia recently just had a huge bust of Canadian trafficked goods in Australia. Where are our busts? When is that happening? We have the ability, we have all of the infrastructure available to them and the laws on the books for them to go ahead and start enforcing these laws. They're not enforcing these laws. And yet the government's saying, you know what? We need more powers that are more overstretching and encompassing into your personal life, law-abiding citizens. That's crazy pants,
as an example, the border security guys, if there's a sea can leaving Canada destined for wherever, pick a third world country, you know, it's on its way to Nigeria. Sure, they have all the power in the world. They can just open that can and say, okay, what's in here? Oh, stolen cars. Somehow or other, they need more power. But you're right, they're not doing their job. They're like, what did we learn? We learned that they're inspecting 1% of all the sea cans that leave the country. Like,
so, you know what I heard? You know what I've been hearing for months, ever since Donald Trump mentioned that, Canada, do your job on the border. People say, well, it's not Canada's responsibility to check what's going out. It's only to check what's going in. BS. You can check the stuff that's going out. You can make sure that there's not criminal activity outboard as well as inboard. You can 100%. Check that there's not contraband leaving the country. You can check that there's not stolen items leaving the country. You absolutely have authority to do it. And why are you not? That's the question. Why are you not?
I mean, and then this bill goes even farther. It gives new powers to Health Canada. Like, you read it and you go, okay, Health Canada. Why the hell does Health Canada get involved? Well, Health Canada and some other agency are going to regulate precursors used to make whatever opioids. But then that just, and what scares me ultimately in there is the minister when he was talking, because he uses words that I hate, which is, it's all for your safety, it's all for your health, it's all for your safety, it's all for your health. We're going to trample your rights for your safety. We're going to trample your rights for your safety. Like, do your job without trampling my rights. Like, I don't need you to inspect my mail unless you absolutely suspect me of something, and then get your warrant and then check my mail. But to just and the border security agencies, man, they already have a lot of powers. They're scary guys. Like, actually, it's a debate between who has more power, the Canada Border Security Agency, or I guess Fish and Wildlife officers have a lot of power too, weirdly, in this country. But Border Security Agency, when you're going at the border, he says, give me the password to your phone. You have to give him the password to your phone. He doesn't need an excuse to ask you for the password to your phone. You're just coming into the country and I'm allowed to check anything I want.
Well, I would recommend to people, like, because of precedent, Apple products cannot be hacked by border agents, and Apple will not cooperate with authorities to infringe on your rights to have your phone safe. Now, that doesn't mean that you're not going to have a hassle with border agents if they want your password and you're not forthcoming with it. But of all the companies on the planet, one that is engaging in slave labor and doing all these other things around the world, they will protect your property.
Interesting. Yeah.
That was one hill that they're like, no, we'll die on this hill, because there's a lot of corporate clients that use their phones, and there's some big secrets on a lot of these phones, and they want to make sure that those corporate clients continue to use those phones.
That was why BlackBerry was so famous and so popular as a company back in the days. Another great Canadian success story that got no support and ended up nowhere. But people like BlackBerries because they were so well encrypted. Yeah, that's I think we need to get off this topic, but that's the last.
No.
That's the other thing that's in that bill. They want the Canadian government's going to force software providers, like, I don't know who, like FedEx or whatever, to provide backdoors to the software so that the police and the border security can quickly go into software and see, what transactions I've done through Amazon, for instance. Like, it's not enough that they're going to track the Amazon parcels coming in. They're going to track who's buying from Amazon. And that's just going to lead to all sorts of other things. Like, that's just God, our government, you can't hate our government enough, Clyde. You just can't.
So I wanted to put this up on the screen. This is a great quote from Thomas Jefferson. Those who would trade safety for freedom deserve neither. This is the reality of the situation. You brought up trading, a bit of your liberty for security. This is the trade-off. We were warned about this. Don't do it. And you brought up the fact that, why is there health agencies involved in all of this? Well, it probably all ties into the fact that we just signed on board for the WHO pandemic treaty, the thing that we've been fighting against for years, the thing that Leslie Lewis has devoted her career as a politician to. Bless her. She's been doing such a great job, but she's got very little support, even from the Conservative Party. She's been backbenched. I don't know why isn't she on the main roster of the party? Why is she not part of their cabinet, the shadow cabinets?
Oh, she's not a shadow minister? I didn't know that.
I don't think maybe she is.
Maybe she is, but she's not front and center. Yeah.
She's not front and center, and she ought to be because she's worked for it. And she's actually one of the ones that are out there. Her and Roman Baber are like the two names that are like people genuinely fighting for people's liberty. Like those are champions, and they should be upheld like champions. But, with all of the other things going on and a big election going through and everyone got distracted and then boom, they passed it. You know what happened down south? Donald Trump left the World Health Organization. He just said, no, we don't need to be a part of this organization. Look at what they're doing. They're trying to come in. They're, other countries' sovereignties in question in this. That doesn't sound like a good deal.
Well,
I don't think we want to be a part of that.
No, actually, I'll ask you this: it's related to, and it leads to a whole bunch of abuses, right? Like the pandemic treaty, clearly states if bird flu is a threat, as an example, we can call animals. Well, guess what? They're doing it. They're killing the ostriches. So, and even though the ostriches, and that was my question: are the ostriches still alive?
Yeah, they're still alive.
Well, okay.
I heard a story of some individual. One ostrich got killed, and it's under really weird circumstances. Nobody knows who did it, but it looked like it was hit in the head with something or shot. Or
because we should specify. We should remind viewers. Like I just took Wednesday when me and Clyde did the show last week. On Thursday morning, I took off. I went hiking. Right, so I disappeared off the face of civilization for 5 glorious days. Oh my God, I'd love to go back.
I'm jealous, Marty.
5 days of zero internet, zero communications to the outside world. And I actually went hiking somewhere where I thought I might see a few people. And I actually came across a young fellow who we followed each other for a couple of days. And I stayed at one campsite with that young fellow one night. It was awesome. Still fun to talk to people. And then after that, I had 3 nights to myself. And where the nearest anyway, so that's why I'm at. If it sounds stupid with the questions I'm asking folks, is I made a promise to Clyde I wouldn't check in on everything that went on, so I'm not aware of, that's the ostrich question is a classic one. Like, are the ostriches still alive?
Yeah, they're still alive, and the order's been put on stay. So it's all a weird story because it's the food administration. So it's the governmental body that's supposed to oversee food production. They're the ones going after them, but they're not a food production farm. They're a research facility.
Yeah.
And they're working on antibodies, and this is all the thing. And where a lot of people are getting really weirded out about this is like, hold on a second, why is there so much effort to try to get rid of these birds when they were infected with bird flu, when they're a research facility coming up with antigens or antibodies for a lot of these things? And this is where the whole, everyone starts going, what does the pharmaceutical companies have to say
about
the
money?
This?
It's always the same question.
Exactly.
Just follow the money. Yeah.
It turns out that some of the research that they've been working on has been some groundbreaking stuff in, just figuring out different ways antibodies, foreign antibodies can work in the human body and how they can help people out. One of the great steps forward that they've had is they found a much more efficient way, in an organic way, to produce antibodies. Typically, synthetic ones that's a lot of work. If you do it with rabbits, it kills the rabbits, and there's a whole lengthy process, a lot of investment. But with these ostriches, they just produce it, right? And you inoculate an ostrich, it triggers an immune response, and then they create a tremendous amount of antibodies, and they come out in their eggs, and they got these 12-pound things.
Well,
it's crazy.
I think you and I talked a little bit about this. It's not commonly known, but birds are very, very sophisticated and they're the results of long evolution, right? Like if you look at an alligator, for instance, it's a species that hasn't evolved in 200 million years, or sharks. But then you look at an ostrich or a penguin. Apparently, penguins are like marvels of evolution. Like they live in the hardest place in the world, and they've extremely adapted. And I guess ostriches are in that category. I mean, they got super...
Well, ostriches are actually very old on the evolutionary scale. They're older than a lot of the other birds, but they were able to survive because of the adaptation in their immune system.
Their immune system is on steroids or on...
It's ridiculous.
Yeah. Cool. That's awesome. Okay, well, I'm happy that the ostriches are still alive. What else happened while I was gone?
So there's another type of immune system that people are growing, and it's an immune system to the mainstream media. And especially in the United States, there's been a lot of stuff coming out, especially surrounding Elon Musk and Elon Musk leaving Doge because his time's up. You know, he donated his time. I think it was 100 days or something like that. And he's like, I'm over it. I'm going. And so, of course, the news has got to come up with a bunch of stories. They got to make it about something else instead of just his time expired. He's like, I got to go back to work. I got other things to do. So they're making it about everything else but that. But there was an awesome moment where he was in the Oval Office with Donald Trump. And you're going to love this one, where he calls out the media. He calls them out in the middle of them pulling some of their usual BS. And I just absolutely love this scene. So here, let's have a look at this.
The president mentioned that you had to deal with all the slings and arrows during your time at Doge. There's this...
Well, some of the people, some of the media organizations in this room were the slingers.
Well, so there is a New York Times report today that accuses you of blurring the line between...
Is the New York Times, is that the same publication that got a Pulitzer Prize for false reporting on the Russiagate? Is it the same organization?
I got to check my Pulitzer counter.
It is. I think the judge just ruled against New York Times for their lies about the Russiagate hoax, and that they might have to give back that Pulitzer Prize. That New York Times, let's move on.
The president mentioned
New York Times, let's move on. And this is the reaction. This is the best kind of reaction that you can give to these slingers, the arrow slingers, as he called them, as they called themselves inadvertently. But it's as they're doing that, you just say, wait, aren't you the ones that did this awful thing, had to make an awful retraction? Yeah, moving on, and then move on, and absolutely move on. Don't address their points that they're bringing up.
I do that frequently, actually. In fact, I did it today. Like today, I got accused of being a homophobe by another online Twitter person, and it's like, oh, really? Aren't you the one who got fired from your job for homophobic comments? Like, not me. So, you're the homophobe calling me. You're the only one here who's officially a homophobe. So, throw it back at them. God. But didn't I hear also, though, briefly, is there a bit of a falling out between Trump and Elon?
No.
You sure?
I'm
Trump
sure. So there's this whole thing. So there's this whole thing.
No, not a falling out, but Elon was critical of Trump because Trump's trying to pass a mega go into debt again, right? Isn't that the story, or what's going on there? Okay.
So it's not just Trump, it's the Republicans. So he's mad at the Republicans because they're passing a big bill, a spending bill with tons of pork. Like, it's just full of pork. And the whole idea is he was hired on to form Doge, which is still going to go work on without him. And he's still gonna be communicating with them. He's not officially like completely out. His constitutional mandate for being there is over, but he'll still be able to communicate with them, help them out, all kinds. But yeah, it's like a huge bill with tons and tons of pork, which is all the same kind of stuff that he just spent a year getting not even a year. Holy cow. Trump hasn't been president for 6 months.
No, Trump's been president since January 20th. So almost 6 months. Yeah. Yeah.
But he's gotten a lot done. He's gotten a ton done. That's why it seems like so much time's passed. But the thing is, like, Elon's worked tirelessly and with an amazing team to cut all of this spending, and they come back with just another bill with a ton of it. And he was absolutely infuriated by this, and he made that very public on his Twitter. I can find the tweet. Let's find it, because it's everyone's talking about it right now, and they're all making it sound as if this is exactly him being upset with Donald Trump or falling out or something along those lines. And of course, the news media wants to go down that path. One of his recent tweets, "I'm sorry, but I just can't stand for this anymore. It's massive, outrageous, pork-filled congressional spending bill. It's disgusting. It's a disgusting abomination. Shame on those who voted for it. You did wrong.
Ooh,
you know it."
Okay.
Yes. Yeah. So he's not. This isn't mad at Trump. This is mad at the Republicans. They brought this. They made this. And of course, with the support of the Democrats,
I'd be mad too. I mean, if the conservatives did something like this in our country, if anybody, I mean, when are they going to learn? Like, Elon knows what's going on. He's a businessman. He knows that running debt and trillions of dollars in debt and the American numbers. I mean, our numbers are trillions. Theirs are like, what's a multiple of trillions? Like, when they run a big deficit, holy smokes, right? Which is why we need a budget in this country. I'm freaked out about that. Like, I want to know what's going on. Canadians need to know what's going on because it hasn't. Back to Carney, right? Like, the theme of what did you call this show today? What's the theme of the show? We were wrong about how
we were wrong about Carney.
Yeah, we weren't, right?
He's great.
Yeah. Actually, I was forced to acknowledge that he was better than Trudeau in a discussion this week. I'm like, well, of course he's better than Trudeau. I mean, like, the bar on Trudeau is so low that, I in hindsight, anybody, I remember 6 months ago, I thought, who the hell would want to follow Trudeau? Because I thought the party was done. But then following Trudeau is not so bad because you look good compared to Trudeau. But
well, that was Mark Nixon today. Was it today?
Yeah.
He put out a tweet saying, "Who's better in the House of Commons, Trudeau or Mark Carney?" Here's the little clip here.
The fact is, Mr. Speaker, we continue to be there for Canadians. He continues to be there for himself to try and block the help we're delivering to Canadians to make sure everyone thinks everything is broken because he's busy breaking it.
Mr. Speaker, I'm pleased for the first time to hear the members opposite talk about lowering taxes.
That's right.
In front of this House. First time in my hearing, Mr. Speaker. Before the House is a tax cut for 22 million Canadians up to $840.
I can't believe they're saying
you know what's not different in that scenery? All the people behind him.
God,
it's the same people. It's the same government. It's ridiculous.
This is gaslighting on a whole new level, right? Trying to make us think that the conservatives haven't talked about tax cuts. Like, God.
Unreal.
Yeah.
Now, of course, because I put it in the title, there is some truth to it. Like, and I'm not saying Mark Carney's great he is the leader that Canada deserves. And that's what I put in the subtitle byline. And that's really where we're at. Like, this is what's happened. Now, there's been a lot of talk about Alberta separation, and this is the reason for it. It's because this is what Canada deserves. We deserve more pain. The pain has to come before anyone really changes their ways. We're a propagandized people that are just walking into this blindly. And it's like, okay, now there are some people in the West that are like, forget it. We're gonna do our thing our way. Where's that gonna go? Is that gonna be viable? Let's see.
You want to talk about that? Or is that for another day? I mean, I'm deep in that movement, man. I am so deep. I mean, that was my small victory out of the Carney victory. Like, I was unhappy that Carney won, but then for me, then it's like, okay, now Canada's going to keep going down this stupid path. I got to protect myself, and as an Albertan, I was a full-on separatist. Now I'm a separatist on steroids. It's been consuming me for weeks now. The amount of talking I've done and events I've gone to and volunteering and effort I'm putting into making sure that it's looking pretty promising that Alberta is going to have a referendum with a separation question by this time next year, or maybe a little bit later. In the next 18 months, we're going to have a referendum question in Alberta.
That's incredible.
It's incredible. And there were times where I was thinking, ooh, it's complicated and we're going to screw it up. And then I think I told you last week I got invited to an interesting meeting. Like we talked about the Chatterhouse rule or whatever, right? And when I came back from that meeting, I was completely energized. And then we're gonna keep working on that. And then we'll take a chunk of Saskatchewan. We'll take probably all of Saskatchewan with us and a good chunk of BC. You'll be gone. You'll be in the US, so you won't care. But we're not taking Victoria. I'll tell you that. We're not taking Victoria.
So this really came up for me because I was looking at some of these graphs that are going around on X. You can see them all over the place, but this is the one that really surprised. This one shocked me. Yep. This was crazy because the whole graph does not fit on the screen. The whole graph doesn't fit on the screen. And this is the graph that shows Canada's net international migration from 1952 to 2025. And boom, Marty, that is just what? That you cannot sustain that. This is crazy. It's in the scale of in the millions of people, so multiple millions.
Yeah, if you have to plot immigration on a log scale, man, we're out of control. I mean, I question that graph a little bit. It looks a little exaggerated, but it's in the right order of magnitude. I would have said for sure we let in an extra. We went from 200,000 a year to maybe. 1 million and a bit. What does that show? 2.8. I mean, it's a big number. Actually, it's in line. I talked about Alberta today. I mean, Alberta last year let in 400,000 people, and we're a province of or 280,000, and we're a province of 4 million people. Like we let in, we increased our population by 5%. That's every expert in demographics and others fields of science like that. They always say no more than 1%. Like you don't want to increase your population by more than 1%. Then you're out of control. Your schools aren't keeping up. Your hospitals, your housing, and then we talked about this. I mean, I want to be welcoming. And I want to help people who come here integrate. Right? Like if we're setting up. When I used to coach hockey. Every year out of the 22 kids that I'd coach, you'd have 1 or 2 new immigrants that were learning. And so it's like, okay, that's great. Then welcome aboard. But now if I was trying to coach hockey and suddenly I got 25% of my team is new immigrants, I can't integrate them. I can't help them help themselves. So it's too fast, way too fast.
So here's some of the numbers from this just this year. Okay. So in the first quarter of 2025, that's the first 4 months.
Yeah.
817,000 people.
Jesus. Yeah. So if you multiply by 4, that's 3.2 million in 1 year.
Yeah.
In a country of 40 million people, I can do the math in my head. If it was 4 million, it's 10%. So at 3.2 million, it's 7%. We're increasing our population by 7%. Completely unsustainable. In fact,
now does that chart look so
it's
wrong?
Not it's not immigration, Clyde. That's replacement. That's a whole other topic. In fact, now even today I was listening to a little bit of news, and we all got our tax bills. I got my tax bill not too long ago, and everybody's like, "What the hell's going on with our tax bill?" And somebody on council in the city of Calgary said, "Well, we have more people, so everything's going up." I'm like, "Whoa. Like,
hold on. That should make everything cheaper."
Exactly. So if letting
you got more demographics, you got more people to pay this stuff.
But we're letting in people who are not contributing immediately. That's fine. But now we're letting so many of them that don't contribute. Like that used to, again, that was an acceptable social contract. You're coming in, if you come in 200,000 in a year, you guys are a little more expensive in the first year because you got to catch up and integrate and before you become productive. We're letting in so many of them right now that the rest of us who've been here for 30 years have to pay for them. My costs are going up. That's what the council said on the town council said costs have to go up to cover the cost of immigration. And that's exactly what everybody went, whoa. So letting in people is hurting me. Okay, that makes no sense.
And this is where it's spilling over, right? So, Marty, this is where it's spilling over. This was a great tweet that I highlighted this week from EconomicWoes. Says all the people who left Ontario for greener pastures of Alberta are starting to get effed. The silent depression is spreading fast across the land. So this is in Alberta, showing just a lineup in front of just some random big box shop looking for jobs. This is the job lineup.
What the heck?
It's crazy. Shit. Now this is happening in Alberta. So this is like Alberta separation can't happen soon enough, right? At this rate, because the more these immigrants come in, the more they're going to flood in. They're flooding all over the place. So you can't just, this isn't just isolated to Brampton and a few other places in southwestern Ontario kind of thing anymore. This is all over the place. Quebec is doing what they can. Blanchette doing his best job of isolating Quebec and saying, well, we don't want any immigrants. Give it to the rest of the provinces, right? And with these kinds of numbers, it's incredible. And what gets me the most is they have the audacity to have, articles written and say that, well, it's I can't even say this with a straight face, Marty. This is great. Have articles written that has stuff like this. U.S. tariffs and growing population to blame for lack of summer jobs for youth, expert says. So, the growing population, that's the secondary thing. It's tariffs. It's just...
this is not even the funniest one. I still saw a story not too long ago, somebody blaming high unemployment rate on climate change. The kids don't have jobs at McDonald's because of climate change. No. The kids don't have jobs at McDonald's because the McDonald's is hiring immigrants on a discount, which is another bullshit thing, right? Because the foreign worker program, like what the federal government, now you're making me mad again. This is like, remember last week or whatever during the campaign, buy Canadian, right? Buy Canadian because we got to fight the Trump tariffs. Well, how about hire Canadian? But we're bringing in temporary foreign workers that we don't need, that are making problems worse, and we're subsidizing them. I mean, a third of a foreign worker's salary is paid by the government. So that's why McDonald's hires them, because they pay them $15 an hour, but $5 of those bucks are paid for by the government. Jesus.
I'm not kidding you though. Like you can just YouTube search this. There are so many people bragging about how they got PR with Tim Hortons.
Yeah.
This temporary worker thing, there's nothing temporary about it. It's like Milton Friedman said, there's nothing more permanent than a temporary government program. They're not bringing people in to temporarily work at these places, even though they're hiring them on the temporary program. There was one. Yeah, here it is. I gave what is the title? I gave PR, permanent residency, to 40 to 50 students.
Yeah.
People who are not supposed to be here permanently. They're going through these places. They're using fast food as a permanent residency mill. And at what's the expense? Well, it's at the expense of your kids getting an entry-level position and having a summer job, getting some work experience, getting a bit of this. And they're not making any money. That's all happening while they're filing more people in here. And then we have all these extra people that we don't have any recourse to say, you got to go home now. The temporary part's over. They're working on getting their PR from the second they get in the door.
I think it was Kirk who tweeted this week while I was gone, 4.5 million people have visas that are about to expire. Yeah.
Yes.
So give them all a phone call and remind them your visa is expired. And, use the technology. If somebody's got if some of those people who have visas, like we talked about this, right? If I go to Costa Rica is fantastic. Like if I go to Costa Rica, they're still using rubber stamps. I walk into the country, they stamp my passport. And somehow or other, if I try to find a job in Costa Rica, I won't be able to. Like they'll ask me, but here in Canada, you get the visa. What does that visa mean? It means nothing. You got into the country. We're literally rubber stamping people and then not following up with them. We don't know where those 4.5 million people that have expired visas are.
We know where a bunch of them are, Marty. We know where a bunch of them actually are. Here's the Western Standard reporting. Protesters outside of First Minister's meeting in Saskatoon upset with not having temporary work permits renewed. So these people are just about to have their permits expired, and they're protesting in Canada.
Yeah.
Give me more time in Canada, because they came over on a temporary permit. It's called temporary, but again, there's that Milton Friedman quote that's so genius and so time lasting. There is nothing more temporary
we
or
really
permanent
have
than a temporary government program.
Yeah, we really have a reputation for being pushovers, don't we? Like, people come
Absolutely.
here, like, they know that coming here. I mean, yeah, like, if I was in I don't know, what's an example of a country? If I was, well, I worked in some very strict countries. I mean, I worked in Abu Dhabi, and like in Abu Dhabi, when I had a 2-year visa to work there, and like I wouldn't even dare extend it. Like I'd look at my visa, go, "Oh, okay, sorry, boss, I gotta leave in 3 days." Why? It's like my visa expired. Like, I knew that if your visa expired, they knew where you were, they knew where I was, and they would have come and gotten me and said, "Yeah, show us your plane ticket." I mean, they want the plane ticket before you, even though you're leaving in 2 years from now. You land there, and they want to see your plane ticket for 2 years from now. Because
you can buy open plane tickets that are good for 2 years, so you can leave at any point within that 2 years. Just book it in, and that's required in Canada. But whatever, it's a plane ticket. They're not
on Air Canada.
They're not worried about using it. But yeah, that's absolutely right. There's other countries where if you overstay, they'll come get you, and they won't just come get you and give you a fine or something. They'll pick you up and they'll take you to the airport.
Actually,
escort you onto a plane. That's it.
Yeah, actually, I was talking to Eva Chipiuk about this the other day. Poland, right? Poland is a model country now. Like, Poland is for the Poles. Poland has closed their border. Poland has implemented strict controls and everything. And what's happening in Poland right now? They are skyrocketing. The economy in Poland is going like this, and everything is rocking for them because they realize that diversity is not a strength. Poles are deciding that their best future and their best path forward is to be Polish, and it's working like a charm. I'm writing this down because I'm going to have to look into some stats, and I'm going to compare Poland to Canada in the next couple of weeks here.
I can't wait to see that.
Yeah. Like, we're being crushed by smaller countries like that. Like, our economy right now, and same thing, nobody talks about that. Like, did anybody talk about the interest rates that came out? When did the interest rates, were they announced yesterday or today?
I think it was yesterday.
Like, what did the Bank of Canada say? Yesterday. Yeah, hold steady, right? Hold steady.
No, they can't because external forces, right, Marty? Those tariffs are a thing. Now, in reality, the tariffs are a thing. That's a thing that's happening right now. I don't know if you caught this. This was the news that broke just on the weekend, actually, just after you left. I'm trying to find the clip because I have it here. But there was a new announcement for tariffs, and this was Donald Trump's announcement right here.
Further, we are going to be imposing a 25% increase. We're going to bring it from 25% to 50%, the tariffs on steel into the United States of America, which will even further secure the steel industry in the United States. Nobody's going to get around that. So we're bringing it up from 25%. We're doubling it to 50%. We are going to be imposing.
And he actually went ahead with it.
25% increase. We're going to bring.
Wouldn't let me pause it. Okay, I'm good now. So yeah, and he went forward with that. It was, I think, June 4th. That was today. Today is the day those tariffs went into place, and it's going to be 50% for steel and aluminum.
Yeah, he's still sort of campaigning in those swing states, right? Like, he was probably in Pennsylvania when he did that, like the big or Philadelphia, or what's the big steel town in the U.S.? Which one was Pittsburgh? Was steel town, right? Wasn't that one?
Yeah, Pittsburgh. I thought Pittsburgh was known for that.
Pittsburgh,
yeah.
But I mean, that whole part of the world. Yeah. Holy shit. Like, actually, I wonder. He's a bit crazy. I mean, he's going hardcore on the tariffs. Like, but I got to give him this, though. I thought he was going crazy and he was going to hurt himself and hurt the economy, but the stock markets and everything else seem to like what he's doing, and the markets are rocking over in the US. So
things are adjusting. Things are adjusting. And that's it. What's happening is industry is moving back to the United States, and capital is flowing into the country. And you're going to have some short-term pains in that process. And this was something that took place over decades, right? The capital fleeing the United States and going to these other countries to bolster the industries in other places and manufacturing. And he's trying to bring it back real quick. And so it's going to be painful at first, but how good that will be for America long run is it's astronomical.
Yeah, they're big enough to be a self-sustained economy. They're big enough where they actually don't need to trade with anybody else. Like, they pretty much have everything they need internally, maybe missing a few, minerals and this and that. So they're pretty close to self-sustained, and then they'll get so powerful that they'll just do like they used to do, and their major exports will be talent, capital, money, currency, and things like that. And they'll go back to being a superpower. Like, and what are we going to do? We're going to have DEI hires. We're going to have multiracial gay males on posters advertising free money for adopting children. What else are we going to do? Like, we're just going to censor our mail, hire more police officers to reduce the number of stolen cars that leave our country. Like, really, really productive stuff. Like, wow. Like,
we're going to lose all our talent is what we're going to do. That's exactly it. We've done the hour, Marty. We're going to get into the question and answer period already. We're going to get into the question and answer period of this. If you guys are watching this as a podcast afterwards, tune in to the live show. When you're watching the live show, we get into the Q&A section, and it's a whole other show. You got to be a part of the live show. If not, you can be a member of the audience. If you're a member of the channel, then you can go back at anytime you want. You can watch all these live sessions that we do at your will, at your disposal, whenever time you can do that. But before we get into that, Marty, where can people find you?
Marty Up North on X and Marty Up North on YouTube. And I'll have a treat for you guys on YouTube. I'm working on the video of the little hike I did, so I'll finally upload a video here in a couple of days.